And we're on the phone with Lindsey Williams. Lindsey, explain what this bourse is. How exactly do the oil companies buy their oil?
People oftentimes ask me, they say, doesn't OPEC have anything to do with the price of a barrel of oil? I'll never forget the day that I was sitting with Ken Fromm. He was a senior executive with Atlantic Richfield who was responsible for producing the entire east side of the Prudhoe Bay oil field. And when I asked him, I said, Ken, what does OPEC have to do with the price of a barrel of oil? I'll never forget his response. He just laughed. And he said, Lindsey, OPEC has nothing to do with the price of a barrel of oil. He said, we just let them believe that. He said, supply and demand has nothing to do with it. He said, it's all controlled by the bourse. I said, who in the world is the bourse? Now, I would have never known this had I not been sitting in the board meetings with the elitist of the world who control everything in the world and dictate policy to all of our governments and the price of currencies. And he said, Lindsey, we control it. Now, listen to what they have to say, and every now and then you'll hear it. You see, let's just take a country like Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia will sell their oil to a bourse. And in turn, the bourse will turn around and sell it to Shell, Texaco, Arco, whoever it may be here in America. And, you know, the average American says, oh, those old dirty oil companies are making bigger profits than anybody else on the face of the earth. Well, sure they are. But there's somebody that makes more than they do. And that's the people who sit behind the computers in New York and London every day and tell every country in the world, including Iran and Venezuela, what they're going to give them for a barrel of oil on that particular given day. And it's none other than the people that I sat in the board meetings with on the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline. And do you want to know what their name is?
What?
It's as simple as 1, 2, 3, the World Bank and the IMF, and they make more than the oil companies make because they're the in-between man between the price. See, Saudi Arabia, it cost them $5 to get a barrel of oil out of the ground. North Slope of Alaska, it costs $3 only to get a barrel of oil out of the ground. Who gets the difference between that $3 and $5 a barrel and the $65 and $70 a barrel? Sure, the oil companies make something, but there's somebody who makes more than what they do. You must hear the DVD tapes, DVDs that I have made, and read my book so you get, as Paul Harvey says, the rest of the story.
Well, Lindsey, I was absolutely blown away. Kate put on your DVD. I guess it was a Quest conference in Mexico, and I was glued to the television set for an hour and a half.
Now, what does Henry Kissinger have to do with all of this?
Back during the Carter administration, Mr. Kissinger, who was the Secretary of State at that time, went abroad to almost every major oil-producing country in the world. He said, I'd like to cut you a deal. He said, first of all, we'll make you rich. You buy oil from us, and we will buy it from you in American dollars. They said, sure, we'll be glad to sign on that dotted line. And they said, secondly, you must take a certain portion of that money and turn around and buy our T-bills and our Federal Reserve issues. Oh, folks, if only the viewing audience today could have even a smattering of the information that I give in these DVDs, given the in-depth information on this, you would realize just how dastardly this whole thing is. Wow. And so there were two countries that wouldn't sign on the dotted line. One of them was Iraq. The other one was Iran. Both of them had to be destroyed.
Well, they sure did a good job of it. Lindsey, we're going to go real quickly to a clip that we want to show because people will understand it even better when they see what happened to the Arabs after they got involved in this.
Because I said they have an agenda and they know everything they're doing. I had heard of a 30-year plan when I sat in their board meetings. They had a 30-year plan for the entire world, and they have carried it out meticulously, exactly as I heard them say they were going to do it. But there's one other part to this story. In 1980, they trusted the man who had gone to them by the name of Mr. Henry Kissinger, and I'll tell you the rest of that story in a moment. They trusted him because, after all, the Arabs 50 years ago were nothing but nomads roaming the deserts riding camels. They didn't know anything about international finance, and Mr. Henry Kissinger had told them back in the early 60s, buy gold, buy gold, buy gold. And in 1980, they had bought gold by the train carload at $800 an ounce. And in 1984, the price of oil went to $11 a barrel, and gold went to what? Come on, some of you gold bugs. $300 an ounce. Did you know it was done by design and planned in advance? And I was told 3 months in advance that they were going to do it, that gold would go to that point, and it did. And the Arabs, in order to support their economies and keep those who were under them, the sheikhs and sheiks had to sell their gold. And who did they sell it to? The same people they'd bought it from in 1980, they had to sell it back in 1984, and it was all done by a design plan, and I knew it 3 months in advance, and I dared to record it.
Unbelievable.
Truly. No wonder they get mad at us, huh?
Yeah. Are there any other countries, Lindsay, besides Iran and Iraq that are not playing along with us?
Well, Kate and Richard, I oftentimes remark, if I had not lived my own story, I would have difficulty believing it myself. It literally was a life-changing experience. I will never be the same person again. If someone had asked me before my experience, do you believe there's a group of people who control the world, I would have laughed at them and said, who are you, John Bircher? If someone had asked me after my book, Energy Non-Crisis, came out, do you believe there are people that tell the president what to do, dictate currencies of the world, and control the world, I would have said, not only do I believe it, I sat in their board meetings and listened to them talk about it. Now, today, there are a few other nations. Of course, Iran is now under fire. March the 21st, 2007, they were the first nation to jump ship and said, we will not use the American dollar anymore for the sale of oil. Then, of course, came along Venezuela, and a few others have jumped ship. And as a result, the Federal Reserve is really in a mess today because they're having trouble selling those T-bills and securities. Now,
Lindsay, we have to go to a commercial break. I want to leave right there because I want to get people to come back and understand exactly what effect that has on our dollar and our economy. Hang on, everybody. We'll be right back with Lindsay Williams.